Now, ever since its introduction, the Chevrolet Camaro has always been considered to be a muscle car. But here in 2016 are the same characteristics that made a muscle car in the mid-60s and 70s, still what make a muscle car here in 2016. Now, the subject of this edition of Me and Mine TV is whether or not the 6th generation Camaro is a failure. Now, of course, as always, these topics are opinionated. Nobody is ever wrong because each individual person is entitled to their own individual opinion. Now, how I want to attack this is in a manner that each and every one of you can relate to, and that is the process of buying a car. Because you, just like I, whenever we go car shopping, we always go through a process of elimination of things we have to have, things we would like to have, things we don't necessarily have to have, and things that we can live without. But before we get started, what I want to do is ask each and every one of you a question. But here's the kicker. Don't answer it. Just let it rumble in your mind a little bit. Let it marinate as I'm going through my little spill here. And when I'm done, go ahead and answer it. Now, let's say you're at a McDonald's, which I highly recommend that none of you do. But if you like McDonald's, do your thing. I ain't hating on you. But let's say you're at McDonald's and say, yes, I would like a Big Mac meal, supersized fries, and a Coke to go. So you pay for your food, you get your food, you're back at the crib, you're sitting on the couch, your mouth is salivating, your stomach is growling, and you are dying to bite into those all-imitation beef patties. But when you open up the bag, what you find inside is a Whopper with cheese, onion rings, and a Pepsi. Are you still happy? Now let's go ahead and get started. Now, 9 times out of 10, the first thing that each and every one of us need when we go looking for a new car is a car that we are attractive to, because nobody wants to be driving around in a car that they deem is unattractive. So if someone were to come up to me and say, DV, in your humble opinion, would you say the design of the 6th generation Camaro is either attractive or unattractive? I would have to answer that question by saying the new 6th generation Camaro design is really just And the reason why it's just is because it's clear-cut and obvious what General Motors was trying to do with the design of the 6th generation Camaro. Because it's obvious they didn't want to come out with a new radically designed car, a car that each and every one of us would have to get used to, because the 5th generation Camaro's design was so widely well received that they still wanted to pay quote-unquote tribute to the great design of that car. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the 6th generation Camaro has been out for roughly about 5 months now, and I have to be honest with each and every one of you. I really can't tell the difference between a 5th and a 6th gen, because really the only major difference between the two is the front and the rear end. Everything else practically looks identical, because when I'm on the highway in my truck or in my car, when I see a Camaro, I can't tell the difference unless that car is literally right up on me. Because if that car goes, I'd say 3-4 car lengths in front of me, I can't tell the difference whether it's a 6th or a 5th gen, because they look so desperately alike. So if someone were to say in conclusion, DV, did General Motors pass or fail with the design of the 6th generation Camaro? And I would humbly have to say that the designers of the new 6th generation Camaro, unfortunately, they failed. Now, after we found that attractive car, 9 times out of 10, the next thing that we check is the price, because we need to make sure we can afford that car. Or better yet, we need to make sure that we want to afford that car. So we check the windshield or maybe the side mirrors, wherever the price sticker may be. Now, a comparable 6th generation Camaro to my car, the LTRS stickers at 31.4, whereas my generation Camaro stickered at 26. So exactly how and where am I spending this extra $4,200 in Camaro for a new generation of car? In order to partially understand that question, we must now check the next thing in line that 9 times out of 10 all of us need, which is a good-looking interior. Now, after we found that car we are attracted to, check the price to make sure it was something we wanted to afford. 9 times out of 10, the next thing in line for us to check is the interior, because we have to be comfortable inside the car. We have to make sure we have enough room and that the overall quality interior is up to our standards. And this is where we really begin to see where that extra $4,200 in car really comes into effect. Because the interior of the 5th generation Camaro was one of the things that critics really love to harp on, because they said it really wasn't put together very well, didn't use high quality materials, and was overall a poor interior. But I kind of have to disagree with that, because I love the interior of my car, because it's plain, it's simple, and it's very user-friendly. But in the same breath, I do have to admit, the interior of the new 6th generation Camaro is leaps and bounds better than my generation Camaro, because it has better quality materials, it has better craftsmanship, it's put together better, and it has a better overall sense of technology in the car. But one thing that makes me itch about the new interior of the new 6th generation Camaro is something that I really have to harp on from a person of my perspective. And that is, when I got into a brand new 6th gen, I realized something off the bat. Not only is the interior smaller than my generation Camaro, it's also shorter than my generation of Camaro. Because as I said in many of my videos so far, I'm 6'2", 250. My seat has to be all the way down and all the way back just for me to be reasonably comfortable in my car. Because I'm in my car now, as you can tell, and I have a good 3, maybe 3.5 inches of room between my head and the ceiling, which doesn't give me any issue whatsoever. But when I got into that 6th gen, I had maybe about an inch, maybe an inch and a half, which is a problem because, as you guys already know, I track my car, and with my helmet here, I have just enough room to get in my car while the top of my helmet is rubbing the ceiling. I could not get in a new 6th generation Camaro with a helmet on without driving like this. And that would be the major thing that would prevent me from actually being comfortable in a 6th generation Camaro's interior. But if someone were to ask me, DV, did General Motors pass or fail with the interior of the new 6th generation Camaro? And I would have to say that other than me not having enough room to put on a helmet and track, the overall quality, the overall design of the new 6th generation Camaro is top notch. And I have to say, General Motors passed with the interior design of the 6th generation Camaro. Now comes the 4th and final thing most of us have to do, most of us go through when we go through the process of buying a new car.
Now, after we found that car we are attracted to, after we've checked the price and made sure we wanted to afford it, after we've hopped in the interior to make sure we're comfortable, now comes the 4th and final thing that 9 times out of 10 we all need, which of course is the test drive. Now, this is where we truly get to find out where that extra $4,200 in car really comes into effect. But again, let's all be real here. In 2016, when we have a new model year car come out, it's not like car dealerships really allow us to go on an actual test drive. Because what do we normally do? We get behind the wheel of the car, we go outside of the dealership, we make a right turn, go to the first light, pop a U-turn and come back, which basically equates to about 3.5 minutes behind the wheel and about a quarter mile worth of distance. And of course, the salesman's in the car like, hey, you like the test drive? You want to go bring out some paperwork? You want to go ahead and work on the price? And of course, we're all staring like, we didn't actually drive the car, but that's neither here nor there. Now, the one and only time I actually got behind the wheel of a new 6th generation Camaro, I have to say, I was completely unimpressed. Yes, the car handles a whole heck of a lot better than mine did. Yes, it accelerates better than my car does, but after having a cramped interior, an uncomfortable ride, no matter how powerful the car is, no matter how quick the car is, no matter how good the car handles, if I'm not comfortable in the interior, which I wasn't, no matter what the car can offer me as far as performance, it's not going to be what I want. It's not going to be what I desire, because it's not a comfortable ride, at least for me, when I'm driving a new 6th generation Camaro. So if someone were to ask me in closing, DV, is the 6th generation Camaro on the test drive, did they pass or did they fail? And again, in my humble opinion, I would have to say the new 6th generation Camaro failed on the test drive. Now, I know what a lot of you out there are probably thinking. DV, you just gave a scathing opinion of the new 6th generation Camaro. It's clear you don't really care for it. It's obvious you would never spend your money to buy one. And ladies and gentlemen, you are exactly right. Because I have to be honest with each and every one of you, and I know a lot of you are going to say that I sound biased, but a 5th generation Camaro is 10 times better than a 6th generation Camaro. And the reason why I say that is this. It started with my generation Camaro and it concluded with the 6th generation Camaro. In 2016, it is clear cut and obvious that General Motors is not interested in building the best Camaro they could possibly build. They're only interested in one thing: building a car that is statistically better than a Ford Mustang. Because before, during, and after its introduction, what has General Motors always been touting? Oh, it's lighter than a Ford Mustang. Oh, it's more powerful than a Ford Mustang. Oh, it accelerates quicker than a Ford Mustang, but goody gumdrops, it also handles better than a Ford Mustang. And what General Motors does not realize is that just because a car is statistically better than another one does not necessarily mean it's a better all over car. Because they're too busy worrying about what Ford Mustang is doing. They're too busy worrying about what Ford's trying to do with their cars instead of running their own race, doing their own thing, going their own path. They're only worried about their competition. And as life has taught probably each and every one of us, that if you're worried about somebody else, if you're worried about what somebody else is doing, you're going to be left behind. And that is what currently is happening to the 6th generation Camaro. But the reason why the 6th generation Camaro is a failure, it's not because of what I say. It's not because of all the things that people have said that the new 6th generation Camaro fails at. The reason why the 6th generation Camaro is a failure is because of what came out of the mouth of General Motors itself. Now, you guys remember at the beginning of this video when I asked if what made a muscle car in the 60s and 70s still make a muscle car today? And then you remember I asked you a question, did not answer it until this very moment. And that was, if you went to McDonald's, got a Big Mac, supersized fry, and a Coke, you got home and realized they gave you a Whopper with cheese, an onion ring, and a Pepsi, would you still be happy? Now, the reason why I asked that question and wanted you guys to wait till this very moment to answer it is because of the clip I'm about to show you. Now, pay very close attention to the terms, the words that General Motors themselves use to describe the 6th generation Camaro.
In nature, you'll always find someone or something at the top of the food chain. It's the same for sports cars. Meet the 2016 Camaro SS.
Did you hear that? Just in case you missed it, let me go ahead and rewind it and play it for you one more time.
In nature, you'll always find someone or something at the top of the food chain. It's the same for sports cars. Meet the 2016 Camaro SS.
Now, did you hear the term that General Motors used to describe the new 6th generation Camaro? Just in case you missed it, let me go ahead and put it on your screen, just in case you may have overlooked it. They said that the new 6th generation Camaro is a sports car. You go on General Motors' website and build a Chevrolet Camaro, they say it is a sports car. Are you mother flipping kidding me? So are you mean to tell me for 40 plus years of Chevrolet Camaro, all the years that we knew the Chevrolet Camaro was a muscle car, all the years a lot of us grew up wanting one, fantasizing over, desperately wanting to buy, was all for naught? Because the Chevrolet Camaro has always and ever been labeled and considered and known to be a muscle car. But like I said a few minutes ago, General Motors is not interested in building the best Chevrolet Camaro they could possibly build. They're only interested in building a car that is statistically better and comparable to a Ford Mustang. Because my generation Camaro is that Big Mac, is that supersized fries, is that Coke that I went to a Chevrolet dealer to pay for. But when I took that 6th generation Camaro out for a test drive, I knew if I would have took that car home, parked it in the garage, sat down on my seat and just did some reflecting, I would have realized I didn't get that Big Mac supersized fry and Coke that I paid for. I got a Whopper with cheese, onion rings, and a Pepsi, meaning General Motors fooled me. General Motors did not give me what I paid for. General Motors did not give me what I thought I would get. And in my humble opinion, as General Motors said it themselves, if this car is not a sports car, it is indeed a failure. But that's my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, these topics are opinionated. What do you think? What do you feel? Am I right? Am I wrong? Or am I somewhere in the middle? That's left up for each and every one of you to decide. Thank you as always for checking out this video. Check out all my videos that I've posted so far. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, each and every one of you know that I love reading your comments and interacting with each and every one of you. So do not be afraid, do not be hesitant to leave those comments in the comment section. Stay tuned for my next upload. Thank each and every one of you for checking this out.